Hi friends, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to work the mesh stitch. This is a very simple stitch. It's just single crochets and chains. I made a couple of washcloths here. This is the third washcloth for our Washcloth Wednesday series. In this particular pattern I used Lily's Sugar and Cream number 4 cotton yarn and a 5.5 or I hook. So I really love this stitch. It's a very simple beginner friendly stitch. It's just a single crochet and a chain, and then I did a single crochet border. Okay, so to begin our mesh stitch we need to create a chain. These washcloths I chained 30 and I wound up with washcloths that were about 8 inches by 8 inches. That does include this little border here too, and I'll show you how to do that. For this particular stitch, the first row can pull away from your work or look a little saggy. So to avoid that, what I like to do is create my foundation chain using a hook that's about a half a size smaller than what I'll use for my project. So for my chain I have a 5mm or H hook, and I'm going to be doing my work with this 5.5mm or I hook. That's just going to help prevent my bottom row from getting a little looser than the rest of my work. So I'm going to create a chain of 30. Again, you can make yours any size that you want, just as long as it's an even number. While I was fussing with that yellow yarn, that golden yarn, I thought that I might rather make a white washcloth to go with this set. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I have enough yarn. So I think if you follow my channel at all, you'll know that I like this trick an awful lot. I can take one of my washcloths and weigh it. So 33, actually I'll weigh both just to kind of get a good average. 33 grams, 34 grams. So we'll see how much yarn I have here, if I'll have enough to make a washcloth. Oh, it's going to be close, 36 grams. And I think I'm going to chance it. So that'll be a good use of this ball of yarn that I've got left over here. Okay, so we're going with the white, or I think this is ecru, with the Lily and Cream. That's another thing I want to point out. If you do try to use the weighing your yarn method, make sure that you're using similar yarn by the same company, so that it's going to really be comparable and you won't come up short. All right, so we're chaining 30. For this particular stitch, again, to help prevent it from sagging or getting too loose, I'm going to be placing my work into the front of my chain, but I'm going to be placing my hook underneath 2 strands of my chain rather than just the top strand. So the mesh stitch is made with single crochets and chains. I'm going to be placing my first single crochet into the second chain from my hook. This is 1, this is 2. I'm going to place my hook into the front, making sure that I get the top and bottom strands of my chain on my hook. Okay, so this is my first single crochet. Now I'll chain 1, and I'm going to skip the next chain and go into the following chain on my, or the following chain, making a single crochet, making sure I'm going into that bottom loop of my chain and creating a single crochet. Chain 1, skip the next chain and go into the following chain. chain 1 after that single crochet. Skip the next chain, go into the following chain, going under the top and bottom loops of that chain, single crochet, chain 1, skip the next chain. So that's all this is. It's just single crochets, chain, single crochets, chain, all the way to the end, and you should end on a single crochet. All right, so we've come to the end and you should have 2 chains left. Your last stitch should be a single crochet. And you should have 29 stitches across. Now we'll chain 1 and turn our work. Working our way back, we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be doing single crochets and chains. We're placing our single crochets into the single crochet from the row below, and we're chaining where there's a chain. So our first stitch will be a single crochet. You can find your single crochets because they form the V in the row below. You'll be placing your hook right in between that V. Or if you turn your work over looking at it from the top, you can see these V's, and you'll be placing your hook into the V above the V below. So our first stitch is our single crochet and it's going into our first V here. You can turn your work over and see this first V. Placing our hook in for our single crochet. Our next stitch was a chain, and we're going to make a chain. Our next stitch is our single crochet. We'll place our hook in between the V here, or turn your work over and you can see this V. And chain. This is the chain from the row below. The next stitch is our single crochet, placing our hook into that single crochet, placing a single crochet into that stitch and chaining 1. You'll see where my chain is here. Our next stitch was a single crochet. I'm placing my hook into that single crochet and chain. Okay, that's all there is to it. So I'll finish this row out. Okay, coming up on the last stitch, sometimes it can be a little difficult to find. We have our chain here. The V is here. If you turn your work over, you can see this last V. You're going to place your hook under the front and back loops of that V. Single crochet, chain 1, turn your work. Okay, you can start to see the pattern developing here. You can see your V's for your single crochets where you'll be placing your hook above these and the chains in between. All right, starting the next row again, here's our V. Turning it over, you can see the V here. Placing my hook there. Single crochet, chain. Next V is here, turning it over. That's the top of the V. Placing our hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, chain. Okay, so that is all there is to this mesh stitch, guys. It's very simple. You just continue making as many rows as you want until your washcloth is the size that you'd like. Washcloth or blanket or anything, actually. It's that simple. You can design your own. I will get back with you once I have finished my washcloth to the point that I'm going to be either finishing off or adding this border, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm satisfied with the height of my washcloth. I'm going to add the border to it now. If you don't want to add a border, you can finish it off here. One thing I like about the mesh stitch is that it has a really nice edge to it. So technically, if you wanted to end this now, you could. So Before we add the border, I'm going to go ahead and sew in this end, so I don't have to worry about getting at that later. To sew in your ends, you're just going to take a darning needle and bring in the end underneath it. There's no particular way to do this, honestly. Just gonna bring your needle around and through the stitches to kind of hide it. And so that it doesn't come undone. You want to bring it in lots of different directions here. Oops. Okay. So if you were not going to add your border, you would just do that to the other end as well. Okay, so I finished my row, chained one, and now I'm going to turn my work 45 degrees. Now this is going to be my corner, and in corners we want 3 stitches. So we've got one from our chain that we made here. I'm going to place one more. And now we'll work our way through this side. To make my stitches now, I'm going to put 1 single crochet here. This first row, we're just going to be placing single crochets. Then as we go around the next row, we're going to put our single crochets into the back loops only. That's what's going to give us this nice line. You're placing a single crochet just about every row as you're going along the side here, okay? And you can tell your rows by these little spaces. Okay, you're just going to do the best you can to place your single crochets evenly along this side. Just make note of how many single crochets you place, because you're going to want to put the same number on the other side. So I'm going to make 3 single crochets into my corner, all into that same space, and I'm turning my work as I rounded that corner. Okay, so you're just going to continue on making single crochets around the outside of your washcloth, remembering to place 3 single crochets into each corner. So I'm coming up to where we started. I started by placing 2 single crochets in the corner, and I'm going to place my 3rd now. And now I'm going to just continue on around again, but this time I'm placing single crochets into the back loop only. By placing my single crochet into the back loop, I'm going to create this ridge that you see along here. Now, into my corner, remember we have to have 3 single crochets, so I'm going to go ahead and do that here. There, we've got my corner started, and now I'm going to be placing my single crochets around into the back loop only. You can see the V's from each of the single crochets along the edge. You're going to be placing your hook into this back loop with your single crochet. Back loop, The back loop again. Okay, so that's all you need to do around your work to create this edge. Okay, we're coming up to the corner. Now we're going to find this middle stitch and we're going to place 3 single crochets into this back loop of this corner stitch. Okay, we've got our 3 around our corner, and then we just continue on with our single crochets in the back loop only. Okay. So you see how our ridge is starting to come along. Now you can make as many of these rows as you like. I'm not sure how many I'm going to make because I'm running out of my yarn. So I'll continue until I can't any longer, and then I'll show you how to finish off your washcloth. Okay, so I went around 2 times and that gave me 3 lines. You can see I've got 3 here. This is where I started with the 3, so I'm going to end right there in the corner. Let me show you how to end off, and I'm also going to show you how to end your project so that you don't have to end it with a knot or a bump. I'm going to show you how to end it so that it seamlessly blends into the rest of your stitches. So what I'm going to do now is pull my work through. And I'm going to thread a needle. Now I'm going to skip the next stitch and I'm going to go into the following stitch, the V's here. I'm going to place my needle underneath both bars of that next stitch. And I'm going to bring my needle back around and I'm going to place it into the stitch that it came out of. You see where it came out through here. Okay, so it kind of blends right in seamlessly around the corner here. Now I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to weave it in and out of my stitches in the back so that it kind of disguises it. Okay, so once you've woven it around quite a bit, just trim your end. Okay, so there is your washcloth. This is the mesh stitch, and we did a border with a single crochet, crocheting into the back loops only to give you this little line or this edge all around your border. All right, if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel and give the video a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be notified the next time I post another video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.